Hello, Rashi Jain. What a pleasure it is to see you again. And I'm delighted that you're here today with us to talk to us about the Mumbai Potters. But for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and where do you live?
Thanks, Judy. Great to see you here. And I live in Mumbai, in India, and Mumbai is the financial capital of the country.
And tell us a little bit about the Mumbai Potters. You've been involved and interested in them for many, many years, but give us a little bit of their history and their significance, and particularly what do they produce that's so significant to Indian culture?
Mm-hmm. So the Mumbai Potters are mainly migrant labor that came in from the neighboring states, which is the state above from Kutch in Gujarat, around 150 years ago. This is the time when in Bombay was developing as a financial and a trade route, and there were cotton mills that were hosting these potters around them as an ecosystem. They produce mainly, and they're right now in the heart of the city, which is Asia's largest slum, which is Dharavi. And a whole lot of other industries are around with them, like leather tanning and plastic recycling. And they essentially produce water pots, hand wheel thrown and paddled cooking pots, planters, oil lamps, and various festivity wear, which serves, say, the huge cosmopolitan city from potters throughout the country. Not potters, communities throughout the country.
So are the families set up that the trade and the learning about working the wheel and doing the process, is that handed down from father to son? And I know when I was there and was astonished to just see how much of the family works together, including the women. Tell us a little bit about that structure.
In villages, as potters live, they live in clusters together where the entire family works together. And it is the men who traditionally throw, the women prepare clay, and they all work together, where the pots, when they are drying, the women put them out, they brought in, and they load with them, they unload with them, and they even carry the pots out on their head to the shop front. So women are equally involved, and from the skill is passed from father to son. And right now in Kumarwada, ever since I've been going there, since the past 20 years, I trained as when I trained in an environment where there were traditional potters and contemporary ceramic artists as well. So I took up clay after I did a graduation in mass media. And when I trained, we went and gathered clay from the forest, from the pond, and made clay and fired pots in a traditional kiln with just the color of the fire. So when I came back to Bombay, I found this kind of connection with the potters there, where this was my root. Being in an urban city in a time where there were hardly any, not hardly, but a very handful of ceramic artists in the city. So I went there to procure clay and heard their stories of how the older generation were encouraging their younger generation to take up jobs which may pay them better, because the pots that they produce with so much labor does not fetch as much to survive in a city or even in the rural areas now in the contemporary scenario.
Yeah, it's, times change and cities grow. And now these potters are in jeopardy in this location. And so what are their numbers now? And what's the future for them? I know that when I was there, I saw the firing, which is sustainable. I mean, they fire with rags and leather, and things that can combust, but it's a very toxic firing in that environment. So are they being relocated? Tell us a little bit about the redistribution of where they're going and what the government is doing to maintain them if they are.
Since this is in the heart of the city, it's a very high real estate valued land. And since the past 27 years, there is a redevelopment city plan, not just for this area. So there are, around 1,500 families. When I went in, there were 500 practicing. Over time, they've come to less than 100. And the handful of them, when I did visit them earlier, there were these conversations and anxiety about how it's going to go ahead. But now there is like a plea, a cry from the Potters who I would visit saying that, can you help us make our firing not sustainable, but in a renewable or something that wouldn't create smoke? And methods like these so that we can be in the city. Because the way the relocation plan would be, it possibly is they would be out of the city, relocated out of the city, back in, say, they would be given a home. But how they live now, it's a community. The kilns are together, the house is made in a way that the workshop is at the bottom floor, the shop front is by the road, and they live above, and the kiln is behind. And they're all created that one type of product is a set of families live together, and they are sort of divided, and there is a plan that is together. Now, this, when they are relocated outside, it possibly is possible to replicate, but they've already gone through this anxiety since the past 2 decades. So a lot of them have diminished and sort of moved into their own paths. They've tried to recreate larger setups for themselves, but it's not easy. There have been some of them who've tried to move out already. But that ecosystem of materials, support, and possibly having one marketplace is not easy to replicate. So there's no clear plan as yet. And that is where I've been constantly communicating with them and done some projects to work with the Potters in terms of, so it's been a sort of a question that I had that if the traditional Potters don't survive in this country, where do we see ourselves? Where is our root? And are we losing the various traditions, not just of skilled tableware or daily use objects, but where all of these, like these Potters, they have a particular cutwork design, which is very specific to this particular community. And a lot of our traditions and our lifestyle is connected to the elements of earth, water, fire, and nature. And when the Potter is sort of the integral part of what brings life through of these elements, sort of disappears and becomes an identity and not a consumption product, that kills the fabric of the country's culture.
Does the government, though, value this in a way that they are going to find land for them? For example, the famous pottery elephants and horses that were created. Are those potters, those clay artists who worked on those sculptures, they no longer exist either, do they?
They're in a very, they've been in a small village. All of these, the issues are of the succession because it's a skill given from generation to generation. So when there is no value or reduced value to it, then that sort of reduces. The government does provide a sort of recognition to craftsmen as national treasures.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is, and to artists of various cultural because they come from tribal or various kind of communities. But in terms of, there are schemes also where the government does try to redevelop and skills train, but they may not have all the best follow-up.
Well, Rashi, urban development is happening all over the world, and it's a question of the value that the government and the people place on their living treasures. And I really hope that something will be found to relocate these artists, because obviously they are going to be relocated. And perhaps rather than vertical living, where they have the kiln on the ground floor and they live all above with all that smoke, isn't such a good thing after all. And the film that we are now going to be showing everyone gives a little bit of environment of where they're living. Tell us a little bit about the film and how that came about.
So this is a short clip of the process and an attempt to just it was called postcard because it was almost 15 years ago when it was captured. And when the internet came in, this was with a bunch of my classmates from mass media, where I studied. I studied a bachelor's in mass media. And this was an attempt to create awareness for the community. And it is still an ongoing dialogue, a passion, and an evolution of a relationship that has developed with few families of the community, where I've done collaborative projects in mentorship, and to sort of address this evolving history and possibly bring some voice in currently. So it was a sort of a slice to create a larger project, a larger film, a larger a sort of a reach out for this community. And there have been other communities in metropolitan cities which are disintegrating. So this is, if we are developing, it's not necessary that we can't develop sustainably. And there are some of these potters who, if they can remain in the city, if their functioning is addressed and how their firing cycles or all of those, it's not so hard to keep them in the city. So it is just, it's hope.
The film definitely brings our awareness to their culture, to their background, and how they work. So it's very illuminating. And for the historical aspect of it, it's certainly a valuable film to look at. I know you've been involved with this for many, many years, and I know that you've done very many films in the past. And I'm hoping that our audience now see a new awareness of this group of wonderful artisans. And I'm hoping the best for the future for them, and for you to continue your work championing for their support and their future. Thank you so much, Rashi. And we're going to show the film now. And I really appreciate you taking the time, and particularly appreciate your valuable energy and passion in helping keeping these traditions alive.
Now, tati taka diga diga tlang diga tlang tati taka diga diga tlang taka diga tlang taka diga tlang tlang do ta dim kar diga tar kar dun ta dim kar diga tar kar dun ta dim kar diga tar kar dun ta ta kar diga tar kar dun ta kar diga tar kar dun ta kar diga tar kar dun ta
Thank you.
takadimi din lang kita. Takadimi takad 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 takad. Andar kedong, dong, dari kedong, nan dari kedong. Tatak kedimi ta.